I can't hear you. You're muted.
Well, it turns, I never know what this thing is doing. It has its own thing. How are you this morning?
Good. Look at these intros from producer extraordinaire Jenny White.
No, she's just now finally gotten the hang of it. And you know what? She's finally getting the hang of it and is probably going to have to take a leave of absence from her position.
I
So,
like the picture of the old people in the car, and someone's helping them out there.
well, because it's only old people that know etiquette anymore.
Yeah,
Just saying.
yeah.
Anything going on with you?
No, nothing major. Just watching the world turn.
Yeah, I was just saying this before we got on. I'm so dejected today. I mean, I am. I'm really hoping that Laurie is going to come on and just say some things and I'm going to feel so much better because right now I'm just so dejected. I got an email last night and this just, I mean, it was kind of the icing on the cake. It's not like, oh, this is the first thing, but I mean, I got an email from a lady last night. DHS has, and this is a follow-up email. DHS took her child as an infant, saying that she had a drug in her system, which she did not because the test results were not correct. It's been 7 months since DHS stole her child from her. She still doesn't have it back. Nobody will answer her. She can't get her elected officials to help her. Nobody is helping her. DHS has just stolen this child. And I met a woman at the door yesterday that I was talking to, and she, God love her, she has a child that is being abused by her daughter, who is a drug addict, and she tries to take the kid and keep the kid, herself, so that the daughter doesn't get her. But this is exactly what the woman told me on the doorstep. They'll take your kid for no reason, but if you have a reason, they leave them in the home.
Who does she know who turned her in, or was it
No,
vicious against her? Or?
No, and I don't know. I need to get back with her and find out exactly the genesis of her story. I just honestly do not know. But I mean, the stuff that I hear on the doorstep breaks my heart. And I'm going to tell you this, and I don't really care if you use it to do whatever. I don't care. We are now a communist state. You think you have a red state. It means absolutely nothing, whether they have an R by their name, nothing, nothing. These people, I just heard the other day that the man that I'm running against, John George, who was the head of the FOP in Oklahoma, he created a law, and the legislature signed on, created a law last year that says you have to stay 25 feet away from a police officer. Well, I understand that in the case of you being in Oregon or Washington or California or someplace where, they're horrible to cops and throw rocks at them and whatever. I get it. But the cops arrested a mayor who was just trying to ask what was going on with the situation because he was trying to get close enough to talk to the officer, and the officer arrested him based on this law. You can look it up. It's on Channel 9. KOC, KTVY, no, whichever one it is, KWTV, had the story about it. And so now we pay the police officers with our tax dollars, right? But if we beg to differ with them, we'll just be arrested.
Yeah.
Tell me how that's not Gestapo. How is that not? I mean, I'm open to discussion on it. I just want to know how it's not Gestapo tactics. Well, you're 15. It's like protesting in front of a church. We had the legislature sign on to that. Well, you can't be 15 feet on a sidewalk in front of a church. What is going on?
Yeah.
People, you can put your head in the sand. You can say this isn't happening here. You can say all the things that you want to say that's going to make you feel better about doing nothing. But I'm telling you, when the state comes after you or your child or your property or whatever it's going to be, shut the hell up. I mean, I'm angry. I mean, the best thing I ever did was run for this position. So I had an excuse to go out to talk to people on their doorsteps, because I'm telling you, it's not what the legislature says they're interested in.
Yeah, 100%.
This state is out of control. Our legislature is out of control. Everything is completely out of control, and we're paying for it all. I'm telling you, I've never been more upset. I mean,
Well,
I know that I have the tendency to fly off and get my blood pressure up, but I'm telling you, the more I talk to people, the more I realize we are screwed.
well, and it's our fault. We
It's
let it happen as a general public. We trust these a-holes down here at the Capitol that are literal turncoats. We let it happen.
I'm sick of being nice about it. I'm sick of not calling people out on it. I'm exhausted of it. And
well,
any of you who are watching, you better share this video with people, and you better because here's what happens. I go to the doorsteps, they go, here's the problem, and I go, yeah. So what are you doing about it? They don't know what to do about it. And even if they try to do something about it, they're told to shut up or nothing ever happens. They're put on red. They're ghosted by the people that we pay to represent us, by the people we pay to keep us safe. That's what's going on. People, that is what's going on in your state. Do not come at me with we live in the Bible Belt or we live in a red state. Wake up. We do not. These people have powerful friends. It's the powerful friends that are in charge. They're happy not to spend their money. They want to take it from you and then subjugate you to do what they want. This is exactly what's happening. And if you don't believe me and you think I'm off base, look at my background. 17 years I've been at this. I think I know of what I speak.
Look at the books in the school, Jenny. Look at the books in the school. There you go.
I worked myself up into a lather because I'm so, honestly, we're laughing, but it's not funny.
No, it's not funny.
We're so screwed. When the state can come after you and take your child for whatever reason they want, and nobody will help you.
Yeah.
No one. Where do we live? How is this not Russia or Ukraine or any other place where people make no difference because they're subjugated to the people in power?
Well,
I want to know.
Yeah, not just subjugated, but I would go maybe one or two steps further, and I know we need to get Laurie on here.
I know we do, and I don't want to go anymore because
I would say we're so divided. Especially now with cell phones, you got all these different groups of everything. As a people, we're so divided. And then most guys are just so domesticated. I mean, they're literally domesticated to the point that they don't even stand up and fight for anything anymore. Literally. Not like your generation, like you and Dave and going back, not those people, but all of the new people that just are here. They're just so easily control.
Well, but we've started. It goes from the bottom up. They did it exactly. And I don't want to get into it because Laurie has some things to say that I think are so important that we need to get to. And it's already 10 minutes that I've been on this rant. But I'm telling you, I know that people know it. They feel it. But if we don't do something to stop it, we have nobody to blame but ourselves.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay. We need to bring Laurie on.
Right,
Laurie,
bring Laurie on, and I gotta change this light here in the office.
All right, you change the light. All right, Laurie, I'm so sorry. I fell out of the etiquette sphere and got all out of
that's okay. I think it's actually a wonderful lead in because it's the absence of etiquette in many of these situations that have allowed these things to continue to permeate, to grow. And it's apathy. So we'll get into that. I want to thank you for allowing me to join you. My name is Laurie Allen, and I have a certification in etiquette from the Institute of Etiquette out of St. Louis, the original institute out of St. Louis.
That's interesting. I had no idea.
Yes, with Maria Everding, and she was known as the First Lady of Manners of St. Louis. And so I got to train with her in a focus group of only 6 of us for 4 days. And it was so much more than you can imagine etiquette would be. Etiquette is not just which fork, which spoon, the glass, the butter pat, what do I do with my napkin? Etiquette is a whole umbrella, and table manners is just one facet of this umbrella. So what we studied and got certified and trained on is, yes, table manners is one of the trainings I do in schools, in groups, professionals, but also it's social behaviors, which encompasses much of what you were just saying. So in my trainings, going into the public schools, I've done private schools, private events. We do working lunches, and we start as early as 5th grade. So then they know how to work the table, the components of the table, engaging in conversation, the precursors to many of the more advanced things that work in the grouping of etiquette. But then you get into middle school and you get into high school. A lot of these students, they don't know how to have a conversation, especially with what you mentioned, this thing that has caused us to so disengage that we don't know how to have a conversation, which leads to arguments, frustration, emotional behaviors that we probably wouldn't often see if we could speak together. But then you take that into the high school realm, the college, and it just exacerbates. It gets larger and larger and larger because you have more emotions, you have more fear, you have more of the unknown. Life's coming at you pretty fast, so we want to retreat. And all the components of etiquette, of social interactions and behavior, everything just gets thrown out the window. Well, then take that into the professional realm. Some of these, and I'm not just going to say new graduates or those coming out of whatever training program that they're in. We have grown adults who do not know how to handle themselves and behave in public. Some because they haven't been taught. Etiquette is taught. Etiquette is not just innate. It is a learned foundational principle and way of behavior. But they choose not to subscribe to etiquette anymore because, kind of like we were talking off camera, it's not the popular thing.
Yeah.
If you do the right thing, if you say the right thing, if you stand up for truth, if you stand up for principles, chivalry, manners, I mean, the not the less than narcissistic way to operate in life, you are the cast out. So we now have the disengagement leads us to poor interaction and social contact. And some people quote it as the degradation of the fabric of society.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it used to be very fluid, it was woven together, and it was almost like this allemande. If you go back to some of our elementary days or dancing, gym days when you're learning how to dance, and there was movement, there was a fluidity, and you would grab one while you let go of the other, grab one while you let go of the other. Yeah. Now we are such a disjointed society, and everything is so jerky. And we thought the advancement of social media, the digital age, all the computer, in one aspect, it's been phenomenal, but in another aspect, it has been absolutely the destruction of the humanity part of our being, our soul, and how we are created. And so now we live our lives jerky, instant gratification, without the tone and the nuances of what really are for people to interact and be together. So etiquette, table manners, yes. But the social behaviors part of etiquette, I think now we're seeing in exactly some of the stuff that we hear on the news. And I don't mean this to go into a political realm. It doesn't have to be political. It can be in our schools, it can be in our classrooms, it can be in our daily talks, our families, our friendships. Without the etiquette component, it's the narcissism, the me. You're not listening to hear. You are listening to respond. And we lose the thought. We lose.
Say that again.
You're not listening to hear. You're listening to respond. So you're just waiting for words. You're waiting for text. And I don't mean text as in the text message. I mean text as in the letter, the stroke, the words, the formation. You're just listening because you're so used to, I got to get in this. I got to win this battle. I got to be present. I got to show how smart I am. I have to show how involved I am. I have to show I'm on the ladder, I'm climbing. Whereas the etiquette component of this is the more, you have a conversation, you have comprehension, you slow, you digest, you think, you process. There's actually brain pathways that are created in the simple etiquette form of handwriting, of cursive.
Well, you know, if I can interject real quick,
please do,
Laurie. I took a Daniel Post. So actually, I took a couple different Daniel Post seminars. Emily Post,
yes,
great grandson, and I'll tell you, what you just said was the two of the main things. Yeah, I mean, of course, dining etiquette was in there and some other stuff, but the main thing with Daniel was the main thing was to not just react, to respond to the situation, whatever it may be. Don't just, fly off the handle, react. Proper etiquette is to think before you actually take action. Yes. And then the other part was that, and these were the two main things I took away, was I have a choice to build every relationship in the situation. Rather than just tune out and get on my phone and, do whatever. I have that choice. Etiquette gives me that choice to actually choose to build a relationship with somebody rather than just, use them in some capacity.
And I wanted to throw this 1 second. Just hold on 1 second. I really liked this. I mean, I'm gratified that we have a star watching today, Tyler Durden. But I loved what he said, response able. Responsible, response able. I mean, I thought that went with what you were saying so perfectly.
It does. Thank you for that. But that's not how we are as a society. And we can blame it on a lot of things. There are many components that have been left by the wayside, forgotten, considered unimportant. But yet, when you isolate any one of them out, you might see that wasn't the complete cause. But when you put them all together, then you see a bigger problem. I mean, we see it everywhere. So going back to even just the cursive writing aspect in curriculum, because I know that education to both of you is very high on the list of the whole show. So in the early 2000s, cursive was pulled out. Mm-hmm. And I remember being so upset because my youngest, I think it greatly would have helped him in the processing. Our youngest is a boy. It forces you to slow down. It has been proven. There are studies out of Sweden. There's also Dr. Debbie Osment. She has done a study and researched this and spoken actually about this, that the fluidity of something as simple as cursive handwriting causes you to slow down. You process emotional thought. So while you're writing, you are maybe writing a letter or you're taking notes. It has been proven it opens up new pathways. So your memory is better, cognition is better. You're building new pathways, your emotions. You are forced to process those. You digest the information better, and then it shows even in the note. It shows in your actions, and that is just a simple component of cursive writing. So as we work with another component of the etiquette part of this in table manners, when I do my trainings, we cover at the end of the luncheon, we cover the importance of thank you notes, because I want these students to write thank you notes to the sponsors of the luncheon. And how many times have we gotten away from that? And now our students, graduates, forget the Christmas thank you notes. Our graduates don't even know to write a thank you note, and they think a text is appropriate. And I'm hoping that I don't get you guys in trouble, because this is a very debatable topic. So
Like
there
I
are many
care.
people that might come at me. But
Like Michael cares.
the thank you, I know, the thank you note is a part of etiquette. The thank you note carries over into personal families. The thank you note carries over into school, into business. If you're going to do business, that's a relationship that you build, and you personally thank people. Think about the emotion that's evoked when you open and you just see a handwritten note, not the stickers that look like they're handwritten that now they think people are fooling nowadays. They're not. When you see that handwritten note, everything else gets set to the wayside, and you say, wow, I got a note. Who wrote this? It makes an impression. We don't do that anymore. So,
well, I will say
etiquette
I
to
have
me-
been doing that. So when I knock doors and people actually spend time talking to me on their porch,
Mhm.
I actually send them a handwritten note. It's killing me, but I am doing it.
Well, actually, no, it's not killing you. It's actually opening up new brain pathways. It's longevity. So
I'm
anyone
just
out
saying
there
in terms
watching
of
this,
time.
yeah, say, well, maybe we should start calling etiquette anti-aging, and everyone would latch on.
Yeah.
But it's life readiness. So many pieces of just the etiquette conversation. We could go on for hours. Something that I wrote down that I think is really important to make note of is it's the social behaviors. It doesn't have to be around the table. There's an entire professional training that's called Beyond the Table that people really need to understand. And we've got life readiness, and we've got the conflict resolution part. So even if you put only those three on the table to talk about, or to study, to train, to teach, to prepare people for life, re-entry into the workforce, middle school. Look what's going on in our middle schools with the anger and everything, and a lot of that can be deduced into hormones and physical changes. But it's the world around us that has changed, that has sped everything up. And when you speed everything up, think about what happens. You don't think clearly. You jump in. You don't listen, to respond. It's that reaction. So you're just reacting, not the thoughtful process to act, to process. And it's okay that you can disagree. Etiquette doesn't mean you're a doormat. Etiquette doesn't mean that you don't have an opinion. Etiquette doesn't mean that you have to be completely agreeable all the time. I do believe that you should be proper. I do believe that there is protocol. But there is a lot of, I think, misunderstanding in people that want to use the strategic method of etiquette as a weapon for good or a weapon against you. So if you have etiquette, people might say, oh, well, she's out of control. She's out of line. She speaks out. She doesn't just go along and toe the line. You should sit back and be a wallflower. That's not etiquette.
Okay.
That's judgment. And there's a vast difference. You can agree that you disagree. You can act or react. Put it however you want. But there is a strategic method and a way to respond if you disagree. We have conflict resolution. You can speak out. You can speak out boldly. Etiquette is the foundational principle. One of the principles in etiquette is doing the right thing. And oftentimes doing the right thing when nobody's noticing.
Yeah.
We would think that that's common sense. We don't have common sense a lot of times nowadays when we enter in conversations, agreements, negotiations that we feel aren't going our way. People lash out. And that is a learned mannerism to not react that way. And it's hard for people because they want the power. They want to speak louder. They want to speak first. But you'll learn a lot more if you sit back and kind of like let all the pieces fall, like a Minecraft. Don't judge where that piece is going. Let it fall and see where the rest of the conversation is going. Because many times you'll act and react quickly and you're going to look like a fool because it wasn't going the direction that you judged it to go.
That's so true.
And there's an old adage, you can make, people might think you're a fool, but open your mouth and remove all doubt.
Or
Exactly. Or get and I don't call them a keyboard warrior. I call these guys that sit, male and female, behind the keyboard, bandits. Because they post, they run away. They judge, they run away.
Yeah.
They cut down, they run away. They don't have a conversation based on foundations of fact and principle. They don't like what you said. They don't like what you exposed. And this doesn't happen just online. I mean, this happens even, we have these, used to be called a paper tiger, that they stand on their defense mechanisms, not really on the merit of a conversation. They don't like where it was going. They don't like someone calling them out of what they did and had to stand on a decision. We do see that a lot in the political realm, and they'll jump because they don't like it. So that's, decorum is lost.
do you think people really want to have decorum anymore though, Laurie? Because I feel like this horror show has trained us to want everything immediately, right? So all I have to do is push a button. I can do this anytime I want. Right. And I think I'm wondering anyway, is this what's somehow causing the root of the issue, which is I'm not even going to listen to what you're saying. I'm just going to respond because that's what I have to. That's what I know. I just go, and I'm done. I mean,
we have been trained to act and react that way. We were trained to learn that way. Go back to many of the years of COVID. We plugged our small children, those forming brains, into digital education. They don't comprehend as well. They don't learn as well. It's proven when you write it down, you're 9 times more apt to remember it. But if we have been trained in one way, I'm a firm believer we can untrain just as much as we trained. So there have been some things that we can be encouraged about. The cell phone in schools is now prohibited. So they are having to go, depending on, how your curriculum is set up or the age of the classroom, but there is less screen time, whether it's on a, iPad, Chromebook, or they're not able to have access to their cell phones as much because we now have laws that have passed that bell to bell, kids cannot have their cell phones all the time. So I think it's going to take a lot, but we can untrain, just like with anything. Bad habits can be undone. New habits can be reformed. It's going to take a lot of time because it's easy. It's quick access. And there are some people who are never going to give it up. But we have also in the workplace, our employers, oftentimes their business depends on the fast response, the quick reaction. I can't imagine someone in real estate without their phone. And that's unfortunate because that is a business where it's high demand. And if you don't answer, you've got very emotional decisions happening, and that, people are now on edge about every single thing. And we have a lot of professions that work like that. But I do think that it has, in an effort, which is a common thought, in an effort to advance society, it has actually destroyed us. And no one paid enough attention to see it coming. It was always there, but we're so delighted with the sparkle, the distraction, the next best thing, to slow down, to have the conversation, to think, to ponder, the awkward silence. People can't stand that anymore. They have to jump in. And that is a very powerful tool that shows patience. It shows intelligence. It's a keen weapon if you can get used to using the pause, but it causes everything to slow down in that you're discussing, or the group, whatever that is. But we don't do it anymore because we're so used to responding. And it's rude. It's just plain rude. So, many of these basic components should be taught. They're not. The families don't know to. Generations haven't been taught, so that's not passed down. It's going to have to start in the churches and the schools.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say, Laurie.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine if you had like mandatory etiquette starting, in kindergarten, where these kids would be by the time they're in high school. We wouldn't have to dump, $6 billion into the education budget. The kids would act properly in the classroom, and the result would probably go off the scale just by having etiquette alone, being taught etiquette from the first day they walk in school until the last day they graduate. If they're taught etiquette, that would probably literally almost solve all the education issues in Oklahoma. Literally.
It would solve a great deal of them, because you deal with the social behaviors. You deal with many of our physical concerns that we are seeing. Some of these things can be remedied. I will not say it's a complete solution, but we can certainly start to remedy some of our behaviors, some of the anger issues, by introducing new concepts, because we know what the brain can do. And if they start learning these in kindergarten, can you imagine the poise, the polish, the panache? When's the last time you heard the word panache? The refinement.
Know what that is.
Exactly. The refinement that we would see in our young people. And in a generation, we could start turning, but every day would be better than the last. So I don't want people to be discouraged and think this is an uphill battle, we can't do it. Yes, we can, because I see changes in the classes I teach when I go into schools.
Yeah, I bet.
I see difference in conversations I have just with employers when they find out some of the things that I do and that I speak on. I had a conversation yesterday with the owner of a technology company. He does cybersecurity, and he travels all over, and was talking about how the importance of it in his business in dealing just with specific industry of banking. Because industry has to rely on trust. Everyone, respect. You're dealing with people. The robot thing, if everyone's into robots, I'm sorry, I'm probably making a very unpopular statement. It's not going to be the way to go.
Yeah.
And I will, for a very elementary example, we're talking about this robotic lifestyle, robotic response. How many times have you asked Siri or Alexa to do something and she didn't do what you wanted her to do, and you called her out? You got mad at her. And it's a program, because we have stopped learning how to relate to people. And yes, those conveniences are nice, but if we don't get back to the business of people and the relationship of respect and etiquette and interaction and resolution, we are going to continue being a more angry society. We have more problems with behavioral health, and we have more of these imaginative issues that we start thinking are real.
Yeah. I wanted to break in here just a second, though, and tell you something that I learned yesterday. So I went to the Hera Chamber of Commerce meeting, and there was a man there who was from TSET.
Yes.
Now, I had no idea. You apparently do. I had no idea that TSET has I don't know, I guess it's a division, and they go into schools and they talk about making good choices. And the guy who was actually speaking at the chamber yesterday was talking about he was in a seventh grade. They were in seventh grade. He was in seventh grade, and they were talking about, he said, what would you do if there was one of your really good friends was throwing a party, but your neighbor asked you to babysit their child and they were going to pay you $100? How would you react? What would you do? And it was absolutely so interesting to me because he described the way the conversation started, and they were trying to figure out how to do both things, right? I want to go to the party, so I'm going to take the kid. I'm going to go to the party and I'm going to leave the kid in the car. I mean, these were things that the guy was saying were the responses. And he said that what he was doing and how he was leading the class was to say, okay, you just pop that off the top of your head. Stop and really think about this, really think. And so he was making them stop and really think and posit things, well, if I do this, then this will happen. And the real cause and effect of things. And I thought, and now we've got, sorry, I'm going to instigate politics here. And now we've got the Oklahoma legislature wanting to steal TSET's money so that they can do whatever it is with it. And yet here's this program that TSET, it's not even our taxpayer dollars. It's the interest and everything that's been generated off of that tobacco settlement, right? Yes. So that's what it's going for. It's not even our taxpayer dollars, and yet they want to get a hold of the system. It's like everything that's really good, that's making an impact, our legislature wants to get rid of.
So I think that's a good example of doing the right thing or not doing the right thing. And unfortunately, some leadership is trying to make a decision that is not the right thing.
Nope.
So we see it everywhere. And the reaction of the children doesn't surprise me, because we always have to remember they're also a product of their environment. So they are probably making decisions on what they have seen a parent, a grandparent, or an adult in their vernacular. That's the decision that they made. So in some of this teaching, it's hard for them because they're not used to the compromise. Kids now, which are used to be the kids, 10 years ago, that are adults and now functioning in society, they're not used to doing without. They're not used to being bored. They're not used to compromising. They want everything, they want it now, and they want it all at once. So that is a prime example. So back to what Michael said, if we could start some of these programs in kindergarten, kindergartners are fully capable of learning the right table manners at their level. These can grow, but a kindergarten can play a parent to get exactly what they want. They're brilliant. They know what they're doing. We've all seen it. And the table is the best way and the most basic way to introduce all the concepts, because around the table, you have the eye contact. Around the table, you have the utensils, you have the tools and how to use those. They're manipulatives if you think about it. Like manipulatives in learning stations. The tools around the table are manipulatives. Okay. Yeah. And then they have to remember things. So you have the comprehension part of it. And they remember, fork from spoon at first. And then we can move into different forks and why the knife blade is actually tucked in towards the plate, and then the glasses. But you're engaging in conversations. So it becomes a teachable moment that oftentimes is so lost now. And people will say, I don't have time for that. You make time for what you want to make time for. You do have time for 15 minutes. That's about what it takes, is 15 to 20 minutes on a consecutive plan, which would easily be done in the schools. You could turn a lot of things into etiquette lessons, and the kids don't even know what it is. You weave it through there and make it very fluid, but it begins at the home. We used to teach children's church when the kids were little, and a lot of the lessons, yes, they were Bible lessons, but I wove etiquette into them because my kids were raised with etiquette. If you were a friend or an associate of my children growing up and you were in my house, you didn't even know it. You were learning etiquette. And I expected that. And they did it. And I would have parents say, I hope they act nice at your house. And I truly could say they do. They were an angel because I expected it.
Right.
And I would teach, and as they were, we would do different things. I wouldn't call them out, but we can do this in the home. We should be doing it around the table. Children don't know how to have eye contact nowadays. They don't know how to even order in a restaurant because they are looking down, whether they're plugged into the phone or not. The parents are, and they're not engaging their child in conversation that causes them to think, to listen to what they're being told. It doesn't always have to be that they are being disciplined, but there are disciplinary conversations that can happen with a lighter tone, with good conversation, and it becomes much more impactful than threatening, the belt or threatening the grounding or give me your phone. You just became the bad guy. Yeah. Etiquette is about keeping the power.
Yeah, because haven't you ever been in a situation where your kids have done something and they're expecting you're going to yell at them or something, or something's going to happen, and you just go, you're just quiet.
And I would sit down and this is something I learned in negotiation and conflict resolution. So when something happened that I felt or my husband felt was inappropriate, so you can translate this into the workplace, into schools. I felt it was inappropriate. Schools, I will say, that was a little more difficult because you have about 20 other children running around. Right. But I could isolate and sit down and look them in the eye and pause, which caused great discomfort on the other party, whoever that may be, and ask them to walk me through their plan so I could understand their decision. So they had to replay it. And they had to walk through it. Now, not only did it give me the time to calm down, but I could hear whether they had the plan, if it was reactionary, if there was coercion, influence, whatever it was. But it caused me to pause long enough to be able to fully comprehend and respect them enough in the situation to listen to where they were coming from. So trust was created. They didn't always like the outcome, but I gave them back the power and said, this was your situation. What did you think would come from this? And how did you expect me to act or react? And by the end of it, they knew they were probably far more trouble than it would be if I just flew off. But we do that in life. We don't pause or go to someone we're having the conflict with, whether it's professional, whether it's personal, whatever that is, and say, I'm at a loss. I'm upset. I need to understand what happened. Can you help me with that? Are you willing to talk? That is a part of etiquette that is absolutely forgotten, and people won't even negotiate with each other anymore because they want to be mad, because we have stirred up all this anger. They want to be mad. They want to justify why they're mad. And then they're going to make a post. And then you have these, the keyboard bandits, the cyberbullying, which is a very real thing. I'm not going to say you're going to be able to sit down around the table and talk to someone who is completely bonkers. Mm-hmm. And we have them around us. They come at us all the time.
Yeah.
And if you really expose what has happened, or the seed of the anger or the disagreement, you would get to the root of probably something that is easily discussed. But we don't do that because etiquette is not even acknowledged anymore. There are so many components of etiquette, and we disregard them. And we have fancy new terms for them, but they really can all go in the briefcase of etiquette, either at the table, around the table, or beyond the table. And that's the trainings I focus on when I have someone call me or discuss, will you work with us? Here's the age group, or here's the profession. Here's what I'd like to do. We have grown professionals, and this breaks my heart to say it. We have grown professionals that will go to a working lunch, a business professional lunch, and they do not know the fork. They do not know what to do with the napkin. They don't know that they don't start eating until everyone at the table is served, if it's a plated event. They don't know that they don't continue the conversation until they finish the food in their mouth.
Yeah.
Because they haven't been taught.
Well, and also, Laurie, even look at the etiquette of attire, how it has just literally gone down. I mean, like even business attire, business lunches, you see people in, polo shirts and shorts, and all of that is a component of that also.
That's part of that life readiness. Those the sweet souls that don't know any better, I would imagine that is merely a microcosm of what you would see in their life. Because the presentation of self, how you want someone to perceive you, we know this. It's the first impression. That's the image. That is what people will forever have. And if you leave the house without appropriate attire, and you think that what you have is acceptable, you haven't been taught. You are spending way too much time on social media, and you probably should dig into maybe some more information, or you just don't care. And I'm afraid some of this is just they don't care because they think if they show up at the job or the interview and they look cute, or they think they look better than the people already working there, regardless of the fact that it's appropriate. I have had that comment. Well, she looked better than the people that were working there.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Appropriate, inappropriate. Life readiness.
Well, when we were kids, I mean, do you not remember we had to wear our white gloves to go to church, and our mothers wore, their white. Yes, I mean, and their hats. I had to wear. I mean, and just little by little, it started to just get guttural. Basically, I mean, you see what people wear. I haven't been to church, unfortunately, for a number of years, but I mean, before we left, I would see what people wore to church, and I would just think, where have we gotten it? And there have been studies done, and I'm sure you know this, that the better you look, the more confident you are about yourself, the more you feel capable, the more, the way you look doesn't just matter to other people. It affects the way you feel about yourself too.
It does. It affects the way you carry yourself. And this is part of that life readiness, job readiness trainings that we work with people re-entering the workforce that maybe have been out and not feeling confident, and we do workshops on that, or those that are coming out of training programs or college. They have to know that your presence coming in tells someone a great deal. It doesn't mean you have on the best linen blazer. It means you are clean, you are put together, you have some sense of polish. I always train young people, you better know that from the time you park your car, you're being watched into the building, into the elevator, into the lobby, into the waiting room, and then you are being watched because you are hopefully getting the job. You are preparing to be the image of that company. And if your best day walking through that door saying, hire me because I want to work for you, I want to project your image, I want to represent you, and you are not put together, clean, then what does that make him think that you're going to look like on down the road when you are making sales calls, or you are presenting something at the business, or you are at a business luncheon? How does that make them feel That's not going to make them feel confident and a good decision in you as the hire. That doesn't mean you go spend, $4,000 on the new job outfit. No.
Right.
But I've been to the grocery store. You can buy a bar of soap for 50 cents. Clean doesn't mean expensive. Put together doesn't mean expensive. You can have grace. You can have poise. You can have conversation, eye contact, a handshake. These basic components are readiness, are I believe in myself. I can do this for me, but that means I can do it for you. If you're not willing to do things for yourself, then you're often going to be questioned. Then why would I believe you would do it for me?
I got to put this in because this is so cute. Everything fell apart after people stopped wearing hats and gloves in public. My 21-year-old.
Well, I will say convenience and necessity might have had a little bit to do with that. But
Well, I was just going to say, Laura, you think about, though, you go back in time to like the early 1900s and into the 1950s. You had people wearing suits working in factories. I mean, we were the most productive and the most independent, and probably at that time some of the most free that we've ever been in this country. And in my opinion, it all correlates together with etiquette.
It's crazy how it all comes back to the one word. I mean, you can parse out all kinds of different things. We could have probably an entire semester and still have things. But there's a respect issue. There's a structure. We're so unstructured nowadays that to put us back into a structured society, we want the 24/7. We want the instant shopping. We want the remote. That doesn't mean these don't have merit. It means that they are unharnessed. And it has allowed us in other areas of our life. Well, if it's good for that, then it's good for this. It's good for ball at 6 a.m. It's good for ball at 12, at midnight, because we have a tournament. And Johnny Jack, who's 11, needs to play because he needs the ring. Yeah. What are we doing to society where we are so consumed with everything that we no longer take the time to sit back, digest, stop, pause? I challenge everyone listening or replay or however that would be. When you have conversations, at some point, just pause and think. People will get itchy. You have now taken complete control of the conversation in the room. And I don't mean you walk into a group of 7 and then all of a sudden you stand there and go, No. Please don't misunderstand me. That's another lesson. That's just on rudeness. But in the conversation and you're talking and you just authentically stop and listen around you. There's a beauty in it, because if you really sit and study this or think about this, is probably what I do way too much. There's a cadence that starts going on. People learn the timing, especially with your close friends. And you can have complete conversations, and some might be talking over each other, but they know what's being said. And those are learned type of behaviors, because we all want to be heard. We want our thought out at the same time. But when you take a minute to stop and you pause, they're going to stop and look at you and go, "What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong?" Nothing. I'm enjoying the conversation. No, I'm listening. I'm trying to take in more than I put out. So it's an interesting study. I can't tell you how many times it has generated a whole other conversation, or someone will literally say, "That's making me nervous." It's wild. At the dinner table, everyone has their time to talk. We're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
So everything just becomes this ramped up wheel. Talk as fast as you can, So this, not necessarily in conversation, but anyone out there, and Michael, you and Jennifer, answer me this. Have you ever been in a text conversation? You're texting a person. A text comes through so fast that you think you're texting the person in conversation A. The response actually goes to person in conversation B.
I just had that this morning, actually. Yes.
I mean, how fast at the speed of light are we moving here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these are all etiquette components. There's nuances to etiquette, but the thing that I have here that I want to make sure people understand is we have etiquette or we don't have etiquette.
Yeah.
And it's a respect. It is not a weakness. It's a strategic power that you possess. And it's a very keen chiseling of how you handle a situation. Table or not, tools or not, manipulatives or not. It's how you handle those and that you interact with other people. And Michael, I'm glad that you specifically brought up teaching curriculum, as the young people could pick up on this so much faster. We would have better teen years. We would have less. We would have, less of some of our behavioral issues in so many areas. But it's got to start somewhere. It's got to start when they're young. Is going to be the easiest, best possible way. And I mean, there's people that do this. I do this. If it's not me, you reach out to someone. There are studies, there are people, but nothing takes the place of person-to-person instruction, person-to-person relationships. You can read about it all you want. You can, get your online, whatever you want. That's a great mechanism that allows us to continue learning and professional development and a lot of things. But nothing will ever take the place of person-to-person instruction, whether you're 5 or 75. That's just the truth of the matter. That's human nature, and that's how we are created.
So I was on the porch yesterday with a lady who was on a school board, and we were talking about, we both agreed that the electronics in school is just, it's bad. And she said that they were literally having discussion about trying to remove the Chromebooks from their classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And the teachers came unglued, because at this point, teachers don't even know how to actually teach children. They only know how to dictate how to use a computer. Now, tell me how badly off we are if that's where we are.
So there are going to be some screaming about the changes. But I would differ with the screaming masses, because if they would realize the advancement to their own health and longevity by going back to the different method of teaching of, without the tool or the crutch, and that's going to upset a lot of people. But it would change their demeanor, the child's demeanor, the climate of the classroom, the culture of the school, the complete district would benefit.
100%.
But anytime you have change, what do people do? What's human nature?
Reaction.
And disagreement.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it is. No. It can be that you changed the dinner plans. Well, but you said, we've lost this ability to kind of have new thought. We get something in our heads, and that's how it is. And so when you have some of these teachers, and even I will go even into the professional industries, that's how they've trained, that's how they've always done it, we're not going to change it, blah 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 blah. Change is good. I don't like change either, but there's possibility in change.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Laura, I was just talking to a real good friend of mine. He lives down in Dallas in Highland Park, and he's got kids in elementary and in middle school. And he said this school year, they're whatever two schools they're in, they made the decision to remove all electronics out of the school. And he said it is night and day, completely different with his kids in school now compared to how they've been. And he said it's just one. He goes, it's been, a little over, 7-8 months in school now, but he said it is night and day, completely different. The entire, just how everybody acts in school is completely different.
I bet at the end of their day, the kids do not return home wound up, fitful, angry. I mean, yes, they're going to be hungry, and I agree, they need a snack. But it completely changes how we act, how we think, our emotions. If someone's brave enough to just do it in your own home, just for a day or two, and watch the change in your child.
Yeah.
Just it's amazing.
So, and I'm curious to know what your thought about this is, but we've talked about this so many times. Electronics cannot be empathetic. I mean, it's a 0 and 1 kind of a thing. There is no empathy there. And when I talk to people, even when I see kids or talk to kids, I notice one of the first things, there's no empathy. I mean, you don't see anything behind their eyes like there's anything else but what's void in their head. I mean, do you feel like maybe the lack of empathy is a real factor in all of this?
It most certainly is. And the kids don't know what's happening. Parents don't often know what's happening, but there's a void there because there's no interaction. Those are learned things to interact. When you're little, you learn to share, you learn compassion. Sometimes you depending on your family and the household, you might learn other things too. But when you're in, Chromebook, or if you're on an iPhone, you're stuck on the iPad, those are not developed. You don't develop the integrity. You don't have the character. You don't have the empathy. You have no emotion because it's like you're, dealing with ones and zeros. There's no emotion in that. That's not how we were wired. So of course our internal mechanisms are screaming and are fighting back, and they're angry and they're aggressive, and we don't know how to act because we haven't had the interaction experience. We haven't had the experiences of seeing compassion, of seeing grief, of seeing sorrow, because we're too plugged in to something that's completely void of any of that.
You just put that together for me in a way that I hadn't even thought about it before. And, it reminds me of, do you remember during COVID and kids had their parents, put on a mask and put on a mask. And the whole idea was, so many of us were like, well, you can't even see, how is a kid, especially a baby, going to see what's going on a parent's face? I mean, if you sever that connection, even just being able to look at people and see their expressions. I mean, that's why they came up with those stupid emojis, right? Because words on a page mean nothing.
So it sets tone. And that's in my notes here. We haven't even got to. That's next semester. Tone. Tone can be spoken or unspoken. You can hear a tone in someone, but you can also the tone and body language and looks and the unspoken tone. So during COVID, when we had all the masks, we also had a great disruption in word formation in our schools, because you do see it as the word is formed. You learn that and you practice that in school and when you're learning letters. So speech pathologists are crazy busy these days because, we go back to those years. Well, now we've got those kids in middle school, high school, and we have a lot of learning developmental problems. There are several studies, because I started hearing about a lot of these problems with speech pathology studies, lisps, stuttering. And this was during elementary level learning years and wearing the masks. So it wasn't just the mold and the bacteria that was all over the face. We actually had developmental problems. But that also goes to how we speak, how we enunciate, how you speak to each other, the vocabulary. Vocabulary goes into conversation. Conversation goes into etiquette. It's all part of the big umbrella, but the tone of the spoken word, the tone of the unspoken word, those are very, very real components.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, like that tone of unspoken so my kids were in public education at that time, during COVID, and my little boys, we vehemently opposed the mask. Our kids did not wear masks. They wore a mask a little bit because they were forced to in the beginning. And then I said, that's it. They're not wearing masks. And just the tone of the teachers, literally just like my one son would come home crying every day. And finally we just pulled him out. We pulled them all out because he could just feel just like the demonization towards him because he wasn't wearing a mask, like, and it's just so wild how kids pick up that unspoken tone. I think they're a lot more perceptive than, we may give them credit for.
Oh, I will go on record. They're brilliant. We just haven't unlocked all of their brilliance until we see them as young adults. But kids are very perceptive, and they know many, many things. They pick up on it. So this unspoken word, this tone, this body language, these behaviors that they see at school, church, the mall, families, whatever it is, all of this is contributing to how they are digesting this information, how they are growing, how they are forming their actions and their reactions. And if everyone around them is so disjointed and, all they see are the populations that are pajamas in Walmart, and they think pajamas in Walmart is okay. When you're a product of your environment, it's a double-edged sword. It's out there, but you have to be older to recognize it and then driven enough to want to go achieve it to make that change. And that is very difficult. So as a young person, you're a product of your environment. You don't control many of the factors going on around you. Right. So that's why I think it's important. We need this curriculum. We need this introduction. We need these experiences in teaching etiquette in the schools. We need to continue this as they get older because it's a very layered process. It's a layered continuing education. And then into our professionalism. I work with professionals because they want to know how, they've done it as an incentive because they want their employees to know we expect this. Well, how can we expect this if we don't teach you? How can we feel good about what you're doing out there if we don't teach you? If you're an image of my company, then I want to emulate the behavior, but I also need to teach you how to do it because then you will then go out and emulate that. So it's very much a chain reaction.
So how can people get in touch with you to find out a way to have you come to their school? I mean, do you just do it, for anybody that calls you up, or how does this work?
So when someone's interested, I ask them to send me an email because then I create a file for everyone. So that way I have everything because it can be very personalized. There is just basic and generic information, but I like to tailor it. My program for a public school is a little bit different than for a Montessori school because I ask them what they want. What do you want me to cover? How much time? What is the subject age range? What are we working with here? Because I don't want to just deliver something that doesn't have the details, that isn't personalized. They can then translate that into life and what they're doing. But I want to, industries have different nuances. I want to know what it is they're looking at because I want to tailor and work a program with the basic components that fit what they're looking for. So my email is the best way to get in touch with me.
Can you give it to me and I'll post it?
Yes. I'll say it now and I'll spell it, but if you will post it, it will help. It's larapinlife@gmail.com. That's LARAPINLIFE
Okay.
@gmail.com.
Okay.
Larapin is an old Southern word for more than delicious.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
And my mother and my grandmother, many of the women in my life would use that word. And it was so descriptive. And it was more than just, oh, that tastes good. I mean, it had soul, it had life, it had color, it had emotion. And I thought, there are so many things in life that are more than delicious. It doesn't just have to be food. It can be an experience. It can be a view, a picture, whatever it is. And so I thought, I want to live a Larapin life. I want to live a life that is more than delicious.
That's fascinating. But I've often thought I keep a lot of pictures of my grandparents in the house on both sides. My grandmothers were both extremely refined. Extremely refined. I mean, my dad's mother wore high heel shoes until 3 days before she passed.
Same.
So, and she had her hair done. I mean, right up until about 3 days before she passed. So, I mean, this woman, I was surprised she didn't get her makeup on to meet Jesus, but that's how refined that woman was. And she was just, I mean, she had the posture, and she always held herself erect, and she always walked as though she glided. And my grandmother on my mom's side, so my mom's mom, she was always a lot more lively. She was a lot more empathetic with us kids. You could tell that we were pretty much her whole world. But still, in all, everywhere we went, her hands folded in her lap, very quiet. I never heard the woman raise her voice ever one time. And if anybody was going to raise their voice, it would be at me. And never heard it. And, my mom was a lot that way too. I don't want to put anything off, on my mom. She was a lot that way too. She was just a lot more busy, but I just missed that. And I feel like I fell down on that with my kids. I really do. I just felt like, I got busy and everything was just, get rushed from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. And I don't feel like I did as great a job as I could. I do feel like I did a decent job, but I feel like I could have done better. But it's
I feel like we always can look back on anything. I mean, I guess any circumstance and wonder, I could do better. But I think that's also just a drive to want to do better in life. So I wouldn't beat yourself up about it. But I think we can start, even as grandparents, start those easy lessons. Close your mouth when you have food in it with children. Where do we pick up the fork? I mean, there are just basic skills that can be taught in a more fluid manner and worked into a bigger etiquette lesson, and they won't even know what you're doing. So I have an example that I want to challenge everyone listening. How many times have you been in a public place and you were waiting for an elevator? The elevator came and it opened, and you could feel the presence of someone or hear the quickened footsteps, and you are choosing to close the button so it closes before that person gets to you. I cannot tell you how many times I have witnessed this. Because I was the one who got the door closed, and I'm like, I'm right here. Thank you. I'm already thanking them in advance. Close. So my challenge is, in those situations, hold the door. Even if you're female, you can open a door. It starts with these individual decisions that we decide to have grace and have poise, panache, some new words that everyone's going to go, grabbing their phone right now going, what is that? Little by little, it's more than pay it forward. It's actually rearrange the mental furniture into a position of grace. That doesn't mean weakness. That means a kindness. You do the right thing, whether it's opening the door, whether it's just a pleasantry, a greeting, a hello, an engagement with the eye, extend the hand for a handshake. I mean, a lot of people think that's too formal. We have to start somewhere. That means you want to have a remembered connection when you have a handshake.
Right. Well, and I'm going to follow up on what you said about the door. If somebody opens the door for me, especially if they're waiting, like I had a really sweet guy the other day. I mean, I was several footsteps away from the door and he opened it to let somebody else, and I think his wife, and he was holding it for me, and I just said, "Thank you so much for waiting on me. I really appreciate that." And looked him in the eye, and I that probably made his day because and it reinforced his desire to do it again because somebody, said, "Hey, thank you for doing that." And it probably made him feel good, that, hey, she was happy that I did that. So we have to also remember that too. Being thankful and grateful when people do things for us that's a big thing to do that. Don't overlook nice things that people do for you. It's not nice. Just say thank you and be appreciative of the small things, even if it's just opening a door.
It makes them also feel seen. We live in such an invisible world. We have cameras everywhere, and we have people snapping, pictures for the gram everywhere. And all of these, images are there, but we are not seen. We don't see each other. So by that mere acknowledgement and that thankfulness, thank you so much, and then return the favor to someone else. It's that allemande that can start. But when you are seen and you are noticed, even just, the smallest of ways, it changes you. It makes you feel, making your day. Yeah. But it actually, there's something so much deeper, and a connection that humanity has connected with another member of humanity. And your emotions change, your endorphins change. This is proven.
I was going to say, it makes you feel human, because this doesn't make you feel human. No. It just makes you feel aggravated.
And I'm really still wondering if all of the inventions, and including the microwave, I don't know that I need to be in that big of a hurry. So, everyone's like, no, I can't live without the microwave, or I can't live without this. Convenience. Yes, that's the advancement of society and can be good. But I'm going to go back to the pause of life, whether it's conversation, just pausing yourself to just in a situation or in life or whatever it is, just pause a minute. Stop yourself, think, be bored, make the right decision, do the right thing. If you don't know the right fork, call me. If you don't know to handle a situation, or your company, you don't know how to handle a buffet and you're going to a business dinner, call me. There are so many things, job readiness, getting these people ready for interviews, just the attire in the workplace, phone presence. A lot of things are automated now. Did you know the trend is now going back to person voice?
I hope so.
And person engagement in sales and marketing, in branding, in business, in banking. Everyone is tired. The pendulum is coming back. So I think that's the encouraging word we leave on. I'll take it. Will it be slow? Absolutely. But there are people willing to do instruction, to help speed this up. And so I encourage people to start really paying more attention to this. It's not frivolous. This is foundational.
Well, what's one of, after everything you just said right there, one of the, I think, most disappointing things to me about corporate America, especially, is look how they have embraced DEI and gone to the 10th degree to impose all of this stuff, when they could have literally just gone the etiquette route, a more business appropriate etiquette training, etiquette HR type of people in the
Qualified.
corporate world. Yeah, that would have, you'd never have these situations, but they went this way on purpose rather than, the etiquette route.
So that's earlier I mentioned these imaginary terms and these imaginary principles. There you go.
Well, I have to say, some of the things that you've said I haven't even thought about before, and I'm so grateful that you've been on to share them. But it does make me, I will say this, it does make me want to go back to where we were. I mean, I remember fighting the crinoline and the gloves, and I remember fighting. And I'm not saying we have to go back to wearing gloves, but for Pete's sakes, I mean,
well,
we've got to get better about just dealing with each other and being, I don't know if we can even use this terminology anymore, regular, normal human beings, where we just interact with each other. I mean, I just long for that.
I think that will be the new norm.
I hope so. I mean, think of just the everyday rudeness. People just seem to be more and more rude and more just disrespectful. And I mean, all of that, Laurie, it's literal just etiquette. That's what it is.
It is. It sounds so, it's very simple, but it's not easy. And those terms are very different.
Fair enough. Mm-hmm. Fair enough. That's an excellent point. Simple, but not easy. I think we've got to get away from the idea of easy.
Yeah. Everything's got to be easy and instant.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that's what's causing a lot of this.
Yeah.
The pause is important. And there's so many aspects that you can utilize that in.
Well, before we get off of here, I'd just like you to do one thing for me. And that is, so for people who are watching now, and people who are going to watch this later, what do you suggest? Obviously we're not Superman. We can't turn the world backwards, but what do you suggest for parents and grandparents and teachers moving forward?
I think the easiest way is to start identifying when you exhibit etiquette yourself. So you're going to be more intentional if you're noticing it yourself. And when you notice it yourself, you might realize through the day, okay, I noticed 4 different times that was etiquette. Start noticing it. You're more apt to weave that into your life more often. You're more apt to talk about it. You're more apt to teach it. You're more apt to exhibit that. And then as that starts to permeate through your family, your civic club, your board that you're on, your company, bring it up to your employer. I heard about this. I think this would be a different type of training. It would be fun, change the thinking a little bit. I mean, we get people laughing. They don't realize it. It's like, oh my goodness, I didn't know I was doing that. Like, whoa, what must that look like? And then they change behaviors instead of the judgment part of it. So go through your day. Start with 3. Then go to 5, then go to 10. Can you find these activities that you're doing yourself? The thankful, the grateful, the kindness, the proper tools at the table, the utensils, the napkin, excusing yourself from a table, excusing yourself from a conversation, introducing yourself, eye contact, handshake, the silence of a conversation where you allow someone to speak a full thought. And then ask them about that thought, because you're wanting to know, well, what do you mean? Blah, blah, blah. Tell me more about that. Get to the root of what it is. And you might get to the end of the conversation and realize you really don't disagree. But when you recognize it yourself, you're more intentional to practice it.
Well, Laurie, like what for, like, let's say parents that don't really know etiquette or have any kind of history or upbringing with it, like, what can they do for themselves to teach their kids? Is there certain books they should read? Do you have a publication or there videos they should watch? What do you recommend to kind of tell someone to get themselves up to speed at least a little bit?
If you just Google etiquette, or manners. You're going to come up with a plethora of things for them to start. There are also videos. I like the visual part of this. I have things, they can email me, I can email them back. That if they want them printed, then I can certainly work with someone on that. But I think sending them the information. I do not have anything published as far as the etiquette. I do have published, and there is etiquette in my cookbook, but I would not consider it a full etiquette lesson. But there are something right here I grabbed. If you can see it, and this is not sponsored. She does
to modern manners.
Has no idea I'm doing this, but I like this because this is for teens. But if you can teach a teen something, you can teach anyone something. I'm a firm believer of that. I don't care what side of the spectrum you are on from a teen. If you can teach it to a teen, you can teach it to anyone. But it's basic principles, getting permission. This specifically talks about getting permission for posting someone else in your photo, permission for someone else's children. We're so used to doing this, we just take it that it's freedom and I can do it. So this, I feel, has been a really good icebreaker and kind of a Q&A in dealing with all school age children. So for parents, if you have no idea what etiquette is, I suggest just Googling the definition. It has changed, is what is interesting. It used to be customary practices. Well, now we can't use customary practices because we see what happens at basketball games and on a soccer game by the parents on the side of the field. So those customary practices are no longer. But it's the proper behavior of what's accepted in a society. So proper behavior is not what often we see at the food court, at a public venue, even oftentimes in the office break room. So define proper. So proper also is unique to a certain situation. Those are the nuances that sometimes are easier explained. There are elementary books. There's if you look, there is curriculum. They just haven't introduced it. But I would say email me and I can get them pointed in the right direction. I am happy to also have some bullet points. I'll email them back to you guys. So that way, if people are questioning it, we can supply this with information. I don't want them to have to go looking. But I also don't want to give them information that doesn't fit their need.
Yeah. And that makes sense.
The kindness, the respect at home is the easiest way to start. Put your napkin in your lap, sit down at the table.
Yeah. I mean, the sad thing about it is I do believe it starts at home. And again, walking doors, I can tell you there are many homes that they're not keyed in that direction.
Yeah.
Oh, she froze.
Yeah, I think she froze.
Oh no. Well, we were about at 1:30 anyway. She did a phenomenal job. I just hate that she froze at the end because that's absolutely I mean, what she was talking about today was phenomenal.
Yeah. It's a major missing component of American culture. I mean, literally, it is. American culture was built on that, and now it's completely that's part of that moral code that I always think about. Like in the past, we may have done a lot of bad things in the past, but morally we righted a lot of those things, and we always tried to do the right thing. I mean, I don't think we necessarily do that as a society anymore. We've strayed so much.
Well, and again, I don't think it's too late for that. I think we need to learn that. Well, we can probably wind it up unless you got anything else. There were some great
No,
comments.
yeah,
I mean,
I
there
was
were
gonna
some.
say maybe you want to hit some of those comments.
Yeah.
Did you see Lisa's? I didn't mean to laugh during Laurie was talking right there,
I know
because
what
I
you were
read
looking
Lisa's
at.
comment about when she was on that cruise, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh, Lisa.
Oh, Laurie came back. Laurie came back. We lost you.
I know. I got kicked out right about the time I was telling people what to do. What the gremlins, the etiquette gremlins said.
They
No.
don't want people to know. So,
no.
so tell us.
Okay. Put your napkin in your lap, sit down and sit still, and engage in conversation, and do not talk with your mouth full. That would get people started. We can work on utensils, but once we have to really focus and master the sitting at the table, the sitting still, the napkin goes in the lap, it does not go tucked into the shirt, it does not go out on the table, it goes in the lap. And I know that would have to back up for some because they might not be using napkins. So I encourage everyone to start with the napkin. And then sitting still, engaging in conversation. And if you're engaging in conversation, we do not have food in our mouth. And that can go a very long way in any situation, a luncheon, a dinner, a family, anywhere. Those are some very easy, basic components to begin with.
Well, Laurie, thank you so much for being with us today. I've learned a lot, and you've given me some hope. And
Jenny needs hope right now.
Right now. But thank you. I really do appreciate it. And
thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you for coming on and talking about it. I just think it's something that we don't pay enough attention to, and it was so nice to find somebody that pays attention to it. So, I mean, thank you for that. So, well, Laurie, thanks again, and we will talk to you soon. And everybody email Laurie, and if you've got questions or if you'd like her to help you, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Oh, you know what? I did want to say something to Laurie.
Oh, okay.
The other day, myself and my two boys, we had to drive down to Anadarko, so we went through Chickasha, and I didn't say anything, Laurie. I didn't say anything about the lamp or anything like that. And I literally just, as we're driving into town, I'm like, hey, look over there. And they were like mind blown. They're like, what is going on? Why would they do that? Is this supposed to be the town where this show happened? I mean, it was so out of the ordinary. This, my 21-year-old and my 17-year-old, they were just beside themselves. Why a town would put a lamp like that, as a statue, as big as it is, right off the road. I mean, it was mind blowing to them that a town would do that.
Out of the mouth of babes.
Yeah. I didn't preface it in any. I just wanted to see their pure reaction, and that was their pure reaction to that.
That's an etiquette lesson in and of itself.
Wow.
Well, I'm trying not to laugh because I was like,
I know.
Want to bring that up today. But anyway, and if you would like to know more about the lamp, find our other episode with Laurie on our YouTube channel and review that, because it goes along exactly with what I was ranting about at the beginning of the show.
It goes right along with etiquette, right and wrong. And
agreed.
I mean, we've covered much of that in here, and that goes very much in depth, and that is just out in society. We have these choices every day.
Oh. Well, again, Laurie, thanks for being with us. We really appreciate it. Keep up with us, and maybe we can have you on for a specific lesson, and we'll just do a lesson. Yeah, I actually think that might not be. I think that might be a really good idea.
That'd be fun. We might all have to be in the same room, and we'll have a lesson.
We could work that out. All right, thanks.
Yes, participants.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Laurie. Really appreciate your time, and you have a blessed day.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye. I was like, you may not want to bring that up to Laurie. I mean, that was.
No, they were literally beside themselves. They were like, this is the most crazy thing I've ever seen in a town.
I haven't even been down to see it. So, but I was going to, I
It's
wanted to
big.
put this in.
It
Lisa
is a
said,
lot bigger than you think.
yeah. This mess all began with people calling our elected officials and representatives leaders, our leaders. I kind of tend to believe that that's true.
Yeah.
And Tyler said something like most retirement centers are full of behavioral modification medication to make it easier for them to deal with you in your old age. That just makes me scared and upset. And Lisa's talking about police body cam videos. Yeah, I need to find that KWTV because there was a video on it and it was very upsetting. This is true. People listen only for a break in the conversation so they can shove their own words down somebody's throat.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say that to Laurie is I can't tell you how many times, Jenny, I'm talking like even in a business deal, we're at a business function or in some kind of meeting. People literally can't wait to just talk, hear themselves talk. And they don't care anything about what you have. They're just waiting for their turn to talk. Literally, that's what they're doing.
Well, I know you're not going to believe this, but because this is just completely out of my character. But when I was younger, all I ever did was talk. I mean, I know it's not in my character. I understand. And I remember that my mother was constantly getting upset with me. And she would say, would you just stop and listen to a conversation? And she would impress that upon me for years. And because I'm a pretty thick-headed individual, it took me a long time to figure it out. But once I figured out what she was saying and I could actually put it into practice, I feel like I became a wiser human being because I wasn't just hearing myself in my ears. I was hearing what other people had to say. And believe it or not, they knew more than I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, if you're a person like me that's keyed in that direction, that just kind of tends to be your personality, it can be very hard. I had to steel myself. I mean, sometimes I'd clench my jaw just to remind myself I didn't have to speak. I didn't have to speak. I didn't have to speak. And if you're like me, then, maybe that's something that maybe that's a mechanism you might want to try. I don't know. But I can tell you it definitely, I still talk probably more than I should, but I'm definitely way better. And that's all due to my mother.
Yeah. Where I learned a decent amount of etiquette was when I was in the golf business for all those years, working at a little higher end clubs. I mean, there's a lot of formal functions. And I mean, there's just, there's like an unwritten code of etiquette, at, kind of high level country clubs. And you just innately, I mean, I worked for years and years in those and you just kind of become that. But it wasn't so much like a servitude, but it was just a real, it was just a real, between all of us, it was just a real, like, back and forth of respect.
Relational.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, Lisa said, my girls write thank you notes in cursive for gifts received without the giver present. They follow up on interviews. They shake hands when appropriate and use formal language with elders. It's not difficult, parents, truly. And what's sad is I made my kids write thank you notes when they were younger. And then we got to that period in high school, where I became a moron and everything I suggested was stupid. And, I just got to the point where I just gave up on forcing it. But I will say Betty is really good about writing thank you notes. I mean, she's done a really good job of of taking that and moving down the road. I need to get onto the rest of them because boys, especially, at least in my perspective, getting those boys to do that is like pulling somebody's teeth without anesthesia. I mean, it's like, but I can't, it's like, yeah, you can, dude. Even if you just say, dear Mimi, thank you so much for the present that you got me for my birthday. I really appreciate it. Love you, Coleman.
Yeah.
That's all you have to put. It's not a 14-page formal thank you, grandmother, for all that. You don't have to do that, but it just a simple thank you. And my mother wrote thank you notes to me. I'm pretty sure until she just got to the point where she couldn't figure out how, she had trouble figuring out kind of the process there. But I mean, she would do that until the end. And I haven't done that with my kids. And I feel terrible about that. And I need to get better about it.
To kind of help facilitate that a little bit with my kids, what kind of helped was just buying them some of their own personalized stationery, with like their embossed, initials on it or whatever, kind of makes them, want to maybe, do something a little bit more, at least from my experience.
Some of these are really funny.
I know.
We have a Walmart society. It's a lack of respect for others, like people who wander through the parking lot looking down at their phones. And Lisa's like, but that's just downright dangerous. And then Karen said, and this is so true. Look at how people dress to get on a plane.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this, and it makes Betty so mad when I say this, but I just don't care. If I can see every pore in your bottom because your pants are so tight and you have to wear leggings everywhere, we're going to fisticuff. I mean, I don't want to see that much of you. Nobody needs to see that much of you. As soon as leggings go away, just as a general thing, I will be such a happy person. I do not want to see that much of your body. I just don't. And usually it's ladies that are have a generous size, and they're walking around with these skin tight leggings on them, maybe even a crop top. And I'm thinking to myself, under no set of circumstances would I ever be seen anywhere where other people could view me in that situation. Ever.
Yeah. Well, that's how my wife Lauren is. She's very modest, and a lot of times she's just like, I don't know how people can wear that out in public, but.
And I don't mind leggings if they're under a dress, or if they're under a long skirt, or a long shirt, or you have something to cover your bottom half, but nobody should see that much. I mean, there's a disgusting term about a dromedary that people use. And I'm like, we should never have even invented that term, because nobody should even be seeing that part of you.
Hey, get this. Now, just coincidence that it's at Walmart. So I had to leave the office the other day, go get some supplies. So I stop off at Walmart. I'm sitting in my car, and I see like every guy in the parking lot is turning around and looking at this girl. All I can do, I can just see her from like, mid-drift up. So as she's getting closer to the door, I mean, and this is a pretty good size. She's a good looking, she's pretty girl in the face, pretty good. I mean, she's a good sized girl, just pretty big and thick. I'm not kidding, Jenny. I wish I would have had I was going to take my phone out, but I was like, there's too many people just watching me. They're going to watch me take a picture of this girl. I'm not kidding. She's walking in there. Go from about the bottom of your pocket, your back pocket in the back, and then go about 6 inches down your thigh. She cut those squares, those rectangles out of the back of her pants, and her butt was literally just hanging out of her pants. I was like, this is the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life.
A Lizzo thing. Because that's what Lizzo did.
I guess. I'd never seen that before. And then I was just like, what is going on?
And she went into Walmart that way.
Yeah. Yeah. It was insane.
Like, you've seen, and that is horrific. But here's the thing. I wonder if somebody just walking up to that person and saying, maybe you should cover that. I mean, maybe I don't know. I mean, we've lost the ability to shame other people,
Yeah.
and I say bring shame back. Bring it back. Really? Are you maybe I could get you to wear something that covers your butt cheeks. I mean, I just don't. I can't. I can't. But that's always been a bone of contention between me and my youngest daughter. It's just a constant thing over, girl, I know you have, I know you're a nice looking girl, but nobody needs to see that. Nobody. But I just get, Lisa says, purchase an excellent comprehensive book on etiquette and use it as a spine for your children beginning around 3 and use it until they graduate. Mr. Romney's etiquette book for teens now has a volume 2. So there you go. And I'm not sure what they got offended about, John. Karen said, this is funny. I love this one. I stopped dating a guy because he spoke while he was chewing. It's disgusting. Then I have my oldest son who does this. He doesn't want to stop chewing, but he'll do this. So he'll like chew and then do this while he's talking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Pumpkin, just wait. And then you don't have to do this. So he's trying really hard, but it's just like swallow and then talk. Oh, that was over 50 years ago. Still, well, and I agree with this. Etiquette needs to be taught to police officers, but I think I don't know about that. This is a good one. First date, guy leans over and forks food off my plate. Also, last date. I'm proud to say that I didn't fork stab his hand. I think I would have. Oh, yeah. So John's with me. Leggings are sick, disgusting, and gross. Yes, I completely. Don't go to the mall. You'll see a lot of bottoms in their shorty shorts. Yeah, I don't want to see that. Jenny, they don't care about our opinions. Well, that's probably true. That's probably true. But boy, I feel like the older I get, the less I care whether they want my opinion or not. And maybe that's poor etiquette in and of itself. But I'm like, if I'm using.
We need to ask Laurie when she comes back on. Hey, just because I'm getting older and I don't care anymore, does that mean I have bad etiquette, Laurie?
And if they are literally going into Walmart with their bottom hanging out of their shorts, isn't there?
Well, you know what was so crazy about that too was nothing else she had on was skimpy. I mean, she had full jeans on, just the bottoms were completely cut out. She had a full top on. There was nothing. I mean, it was just, I was like, am I in the Twilight Zone or something? I was like, what is happening?
Really? I would have thought they were shorts too or something.
No, she had jeans on. Her butt was completely cut out. Obviously, she's wearing a G-string. And then she had a full, just a full regular top on. I think it's even long sleeve.
Oh my goodness. How very odd.
There wasn't a person in the parking lot that wasn't looking at her. I can tell you that.
Okay, well, there's just an oddness to that makes me nervous. I don't know. That's just awful. All right. Well, next week on our show, we have Darren Blanchard, who is our Oklahoma data center fighter, among other things, wind turbines and everything else. He's going to be on with us talking about data centers and, kind of how to take back our city councils and town councils and county commissioners, that. And then my friend Christy Taylor, I always feel like I have to say my Democrat friend Christy Taylor, which is silly because she's just a friend. Anyway, she did something that I've always wanted to do, and she is so adept at using technology. I wish I was as adept as her, but she's in that field. That's what she does. And she has, and a friend have come up with it's completely nonpartisan. It's absolutely fantastical way of learning how a bill is created. So it's basically just teaching civics, and it's online. Anybody can use it. Anybody can find it. It's just, and then she's actually come up with a way of, she sends out text alerts and email alerts through her Substack. And it's just really, honestly, phenomenal. And some of the things we don't agree on, but a whole lot of the things we do agree on. So, I mean, I think she's done a super job. So she's going to be on next Friday to talk about that. And then the week after that, Katie is going to come on board. And I do think I am going to have to take a leave of absence for a little bit. So I've talked about Katie maybe taking over for me, and we're still in discussions about that. But it's just becoming really hard to do all the things right now. So
yeah. Well, we could always pause for a while. We did kind of a whole summer pause, a year ago or so.
Yeah, well, and we always pause in December, but I hate to do it while they're still in session, just because, and while we have candidates, I'd really like to line up some candidates to come on to be able to interview, because we interviewed Heather Boss, which was a great interview. I love the boss. And we've interviewed so many, Lisa Janlu, Kevin West. We've had several, I don't know why I'm having a problem, doctor in Garfield County. He was so good.
Yeah. And what happened to him was unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's somebody that, I mean, that conversation needs to get out there. And then we have, oh goodness, Susan, hold on. We do have one candidate that I've gotten scheduled for May. Susan Callahan is going to be on. But we do need to get some of that kind of thing done. But anyway, all right. Is there anything that you've got?
Yeah, I need to hit John Boy's comment down there.
What?
He said,
what do you remember?
Michael remembers that the girl. So, John Boy, I'll tell you, I could probably identify this girl from the front or the back in the lineup if I had to, because it was just so burned into my head with disbelief as to what was happening. I could probably identify her at any point in time.
Yeah, I don't think that's the way I would want to be known, frankly.
But that was pretty wild. That was one of the wildest. I've seen some crazy things in public. That was one of the craziest things. I mean, I was just so caught off guard. I'm just like, what is happening? But if it's a Lizzo, I don't watch any of that stuff or so maybe if I would have seen it in a music video or something before that, then it wouldn't have been so. It's just so like, what is happening?
Well, I mean, we should honestly we should condemn that kind of stuff. It's really not, it's not societally good. I mean, it's just not good for society, and it's really not good for that person as well. I mean, if that person feels empowered by doing that, then we need to figure out why she feels empowered by doing that, because that's not the empowerment that women should feel. That's not the kind of activity women should feel empowered by.
I'm just glad like my 12-year-old wasn't with me or something.
Kidding.
I mean,
no kidding. And isn't that the other part where you have other people, other kids looking at that going, Mom, can I do that? Is that okay for me to do? I mean, we have lost again, we deal with computers. We don't deal with people anymore. And we've lost our ability to understand that what we do in public affects other people. I mean, it totally, totally does. I know you hate Sprouts, but I was at Sprouts the other day, and there was a woman behind the counter who Oh my goodness, that woman was the rudest person I have ever been involved with. And here's the thing. Oh, and Lise makes a point. How was that stupid thing? Lisa makes the point. How is that not indecent exposure? I think I wonder about that. I mean, I do wonder. Anyway, I had a train of thought where I was going, and then I went somewhere else with that after Lisa said that. What was I saying?
What were you saying? You were
Well, I was talking about empowerment. Yeah, it is not empowerment. It's attention seeking. I completely agree with that. Oh, I was talking about the lady at Walmart or at Sprouts who was being so
Sprouts.
rude. So I was, first of all, she didn't help me sack my groceries. She wasn't nice at all. She was just very matter of fact. The supervisor comes by while I was standing there and said, I'm going to go ahead and have you take your break after this last person, if you don't mind. And the woman just did not respond to her at all and just didn't respond to her. So the woman comes back and said, so just clear, did you hear what I was saying? And the woman turns around in front of me and says, yes, I heard what you were saying. I got it. Okay.
Wow.
And I just stood there,
Wow.
and I think because everybody who knows me knows that my face does its own thing. And sometimes I can't even stop it. And I was just like, I must have looked at her like this. And there was a part of me who wanted to say, wow, I'm not sure I'd speak to my supervisor like that, but I just couldn't even determine a comeback. And then as I was leaving, the Lord got on me. I hate those moments. And I have my friend Becky and her granddaughter, Sophia, are phenomenal. And they will literally in a store with somebody like that say, may I pray for you? You seem as though maybe if I prayed for you, and they're very serious about it, would that help? And they have stories of where people have just broken down in tears and said, oh my God, this happened and this happened and this happened. And I don't even know what to do. And, that's just a real blessing, to people. And I didn't think to do that. I just let my back get up about it. And then after I left, I felt really bad. And I thought, oh, where's the empathy gene? We go to the anger gene, just like Laurie was talking about, but then we don't affix to the empathy gene. And what was the woman doing the right thing? No, absolutely not. But maybe she was just having a horrible, horrible day. Maybe something terrible had happened, and she had just had enough of it. And a little empathy from somebody could have really got her back on track. And so I just think that is another part of etiquette. Certainly the etiquette of the lady behind the counter was poor, but I didn't respond with proper etiquette either. And in this case, the proper etiquette, may have just been to say, gosh, I hope you're going to have a better day. Or, could I pray for you? Or is there anything I can do for you? Maybe if we responded more like that, instead of just going, well, that's rude. What's maybe we would have, maybe that would really, help. So Cheryl says, what is that? What is with the phrase welcome in, or the cashier not saying thank you after you've paid? Some barely talk through the whole transaction. And Karen says she would have said, are you having a bad day? And, I think if you say, are you having a bad day? Then what happens is they get their back up because they're like, well, how dare you say I'm having a bad day? So I think the best thing to do is just to say, hey, can I pray for you? Is there something, may I pray for you? And maybe that just kind of takes some of the tension out of it. But
pretty disarming when you say
people
like
shouldn't do that. But then I don't think me responding with, do you really want to talk to your cashier that way is the way to go either. So, I don't know, but I do feel like we're at the point where we need to start responding to people who act like that. And I don't think yelling at them is going to do it, but I do think, just responding and saying, hey, can I help you out? Could I pray for you? Or, something like that. I don't know, but we're in a real jam right now.
Yeah, we are.
We really are. And if we're not going to work to get ourselves out of it, it will be the end of our society, and the communists, will have won.
They're playing a long game, no doubt about it.
And they've done a great job at it. They have ruined every institution.
Yep.
And they've made us all about ourselves. And, we have to start paying attention to
and this is only expediting. This is expediting that whole process.
100%. All right. Well, I must go. I've got a meeting I must attend, so I must go do that. But I really appreciate you, Michael. I always do. You had some great questions again today. I'm so glad you're on, because you just have so many questions that are so excellent. So thank you for being my partner in crime in this. I really do appreciate it. Lisa's getting me.
Well, Lisa, you remember my story about COVID? They kicked me out of Sprouts because I didn't have a mask on. The manager came over, kicked me out of Sprouts.
Oh, that's true. All right. Well, everybody, you have a blessed weekend. Watch the weather tonight. Then this weekend, it's supposed to be nice. So have a lovely weekend, and we will see you again next Wednesday. Thanks for being with us, and practice your etiquette.
That's right.
Bye-bye.